All right, so the first pseudo class we'll talk about is hover. And I have the docs open for it here on MDN. The hover CSS pseudo class matches when the user interacts with an element with a pointing device, typically that would be a mouse, but does not necessarily activate it. So it's important, it doesn't mean clicking on something that will not trigger it, but hovering over something will. Here's an example, very simple one. What this will do is whenever a user hovers over any div, that div will turn purple. The background at least will turn purple. So the syntax, select all divs on the page in the hover state. So this only affects them when they're being hovered over. Otherwise, the div is in whatever other background color we have set. The next thing we'll do is give it a shot on our own. So I'm using CodePen for this. It's just a quick example. If you're not familiar with CodePen, it's an in-browser editor for front-end technologies, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's great both as a developer and a teacher. I can share things with you. So my code will be here, and you'll be able to see it and view it long after this video ends. But also, it's a great way to view other people's code. So you can search for things, you can share code. There's thousands and thousands of code pens people have built out, ranging from very simple things to amazing complex tools and websites people have built. So if you've never used it, you can sign up, and then you can click on the new pen button on the home page, or the create button, new pen. I'll just go back, I have a pre-created one. I'm gonna minimize the JavaScript, don't need that. And basically from here on out, anytime you see me using CodePen, I'll be doing it in a separate CodePen itself, a separate pen, is what they call them, to keep things separated. So every video will have its own. So if you want to go back and view them, you can see them all under my profile, but they're also included along with every lecture or corresponding lecture as a resource. Okay, so I'm going to start really simple. We'll have an H1, and this H1 will just say, I am an H1. And we'll have, let's say, a paragraph. This is a paragraph. This really doesn't matter. And we'll do one more thing. Let's do a button. Click me. Perfect. You can see I'm getting that live down here. In fact, I'll make this a bit bigger just so you can see it. Okay, so we have our three elements. Now let's go ahead and style something. Let's use H1 colon hover. So in the hover state only, let's do background color pink. It's going to be very ugly. So currently it's not pink, but I hover and it immediately turns pink. It's as easy as that. Now, of course, what we'll be working towards is making more beautiful things, and making them beautiful is not really just a matter of better colors, but it also has to do with the actual animation. This is very jarring. This is an immediate transition. And if I had another H1 here, let's just say I am also an H1, and I save. Both of them turn pink when I hover over them. All right, so that's the basics of it, but just to show you, I can do the same thing for the button. Let's do button hover. And this time, let's make the background, let's do something other than background. Let's do the color itself white. All right, so we have our two H1s, nothing happens to the paragraph, and our button turns white. Very ugly, yes, but it immediately gives you feedback that you can click this or that there's something here. And that's pretty much all there is to hover. So I'll end the video here. All that I'll say is that we are working towards making things that look a lot nicer. This is very basic, but this is the foundation, right? If we want to do anything upon a hover, when a user mouses over, this is the best way to do it using CSS. The question, as I mentioned in the last video, is not how to do it, but really what to do. What's the animation itself? And that's what we're going to learn. That's what we're going to focus on, is how do we make it take longer? How do we affect the timing of it? How do we make it more beautiful? All of that, rather than just an immediate jarring transition. So that's coming up. But first, we're going to talk about the two other pseudo classes very briefly, focus and active.